Alright. I did half of this and it went away. Chapter 10. This is irritating and frustrating. I'm not going to read half of it, that's for sure. It's a long chapter. It's 11 pages. I'm just wearing my voice out. They were almost halfway to the ranch when Mark's watch read noon. Jim was slowing down every time they topped a hill, as there were still a few cars stalled on the highway. Mark asked Jess to turn on the portable radio. This is KSTX 640 AM. It's 93 degrees with sunny skies at straight up 12 o'clock. Now for the news. The presidential funeral is scheduled for 3 o'clock Eastern Time. The proceedings will be carried live on this CBS radio station. The Pacific Rim markets were down for the third straight day. The Nikkei index is now down over 20% since the burst, and other world markets are not far behind. Japanese officials are talking about suspending trading until the New York and European markets are back online. It is expected that all of the markets will follow the Japanese lead. The riots in Chicago have been halted by the Illinois National Guard. Before they could be brought in, however, the mayor's house was burned to the ground. The rioters in Baltimore are still marching through the streets, destroying everything in their path. Even though the governor has dispatched the Maryland National Guard, they have been unable to contain the lawlessness. There is an unconfirmed report that less than half of the state's guardsmen have reported for duty. The city of Cincinnati is now considered to be a total loss. Damages are estimated in the billions. The Detroit Fire Department was able to save almost a quarter of the city's automotive production facilities. The mayor of Detroit has squared off against the governor for not acting to save his city. So far, there have been no responses from the Michigan capital. In local news, gunfire tore through a housing development last night in apparent gang warfare. 11 people were killed and 23 were injured. Many of the victims were reported to be innocent bystanders, including several children. Kroger stores have instituted a $50 limit per family on groceries. This has worked well throughout most of the city. However, a large number of people were arrested at the store at 281 and Thousand Oaks. An unidentified man insisting that he should be allowed to buy as much as he wanted incited a crowd to riot. There are also several reports of people being mugged for their groceries. The city water board is asking all residents to be very conservative with their water usage. A spokesman reported that the backup generators are unable to keep up with the current demand for water pressure. He assured the media that with strict conservation there is plenty of water for everyone. He asked that citizens not fill up their bathtubs or other containers, and for those who had already done so, to please use that water before running their faucets. City Power and Light is reporting that they should have power to medical facilities that do not have their own backup power by the end of the weekend, or Monday morning at the latest. When asked about restoration of power to the whole city, the spokesman would not give a definitive answer, but said it should be not too much longer. Now for the weather. Today's high will be in the mid. Just turned the radio off. Nothing but more bad news. Looks more and more like Todd and Scott are right about the power. Mark didn't say anything. When Jim turned off the county road to go through the first gate to the ranch, he tied the yellow bandana to his antenna. They had to pass through several ranches and gates to get to the group's ranch. When they were going through the last ranch, before they reached their destination, Mark noticed that the power lines that had followed the road they were on had stopped. At the gate, they were met by two men who were carrying black rifles and wearing a camouflage uniform in a pattern Mark hadn't seen before. Mark noted that the gate was made of heavy pipe and had long, heavy spikes extending from it. If someone tried to crash through it with a pickup or SUV, they would at least ruin their radiator. The gate was hung on huge 12-inch steel pipe fence posts cemented into the ground, in addition to the no-climb fence, called that because the wire mesh was too closely woven to get a foothold in, and 3 strands of barbed wire across the top of the 8-foot fence. A heavy cable ran from metal post to metal fence post about 24 inches above the ground and back into the brush as far as Mark could see. There would be no way for anything less than a tank to make an unfriendly entrance to the ranch. Mark felt that if the rest of the ranch security was anywhere close to as good as the gate and fence, they would be very safe here. The 2 guards spoke into a radio and then opened the gate. They told the families to follow the road until they reached the main complex. The nicely graded road wound through the mesquite trees and scrub brush. When they reached the complex, there was an 8-foot-tall chain-link fence around it, but the gate was open this time. Todd was standing there just inside it. He pointed to where they should park. When they got out of the trucks, Todd shook everyone's hand. "It's so good to see you all. Welcome to the New Age Ranch. Let me show you to your quarters, and then I'll give you the nickel tour." Todd showed each family to their cabin. They were actually log cabins with 3 bedrooms and a large bath. Downstairs, there was a large living area with a big fireplace and the master bedroom and bathroom. The ceiling in the living area was vaulted and over 20 feet high in the center. The upstairs loft, which only covered the area over the master bedroom and bath, was divided into 2 smaller bedrooms. All 3 bedrooms had small wood-burning stoves in them as well as propane heaters. The furniture was modest but of high quality. Jess asked why there was no kitchen, and Todd told her that the group always ate together in the community dining room. Todd showed the families that each cabin had a bank of batteries to run the 12-volt lights and ceiling fans in each room. Mark mentally patted himself on the back for knowing the ranch would have the battery-powered fans. There were solar panels on the roof to keep the batteries charged, and the bathrooms had running water supplied by an RV-type pump and propane water heater. There was no air conditioning, but the cabins were designed to stay tolerable without it. It was mid-afternoon in the middle of August and must have been in the mid-90s outside. However, it was very comfortable in the cabin with the ceiling fan on. Todd said that one reason they did all the cooking in one place was to keep from heating up the cabins. When both of the families had carried their clothes into their cabins and got settled in a bit, they met Todd at the community dining and meeting room. Todd showed them the large kitchen, the huge kitchen, and the food storage area. He told them they had enough canned food to last 100 people for 3 years without adding anything by farming, ranching, hunting, or fishing. There were enough of some staples like flour, sugar, and salt for 10 years if they were careful. They had a large room just for skinning and quartering game and livestock, with a walk-in cooler attached. In the dining room, there were about 30 tables. Todd told them that not only did they eat in here, but they also used the room for meetings and church services. He asked Mark if it was big enough for karate class. Mark told him they could probably train about 25 people if they moved the tables to one side. Todd mentioned that they also used it for entertainment. They had a piano for music, many board, card, and domino games to play, and a big screen TV and DVD player that had been protected from the burst.